all hail Joshua Van. In this video, we are going to give an in-depth promo and breakdown for Alexandre Pantoja versus Joshua Van, December 6th for the flyweight title. Generational, historic title fight here. Joshua Van, the first fighter born in the 2000s, challenging for a UFC title against Alexandre Pantoja, super slept-on, grappling unk, really wholesome Brazilian Giga veteran, lots of fight IQ, fight experience against Joshua Van's unbelievable Myanmar cardio, mini Holloway, machine gun punching combinations. Insane bout about to take place on December 6th, the co-main event. And I feel like flyweight is a division that has never really gained a respectable amount of attention. It's always been dubbed as the little man's division, and I don't know where that narrative came from because it could have come from the fan base, but I actually think Dana White constantly complaining about it didn't help either, dubbing it sort of the pipsqueak division. They won't give me finishes, they won't give us actions, so I don't think he's ever really been a fan of it. But I am a flyweight enjoyer, mainly because of Demetrious Johnson, Henry Cejudo. Demetrious Johnson being that raid boss at the top of the division that nobody could take out. He was the king of the jungle, just playing with his food. It seemed like he was 2 or 3 generations above these other flyweights. But I don't feel like Demetrious Johnson was given a fair shake just because his finishing style was to submit people, just completely play with them on the feet and then grapple them, beautiful submission. That just wasn't selling. You could tell the UFC back then really thrived off the knockout and these sort of high action moments. That's what we come here for, right? But I feel like as the sports moved on, now we put a lot more respect on submission victories, whereas back then in the Reebok era, people kind of just wanted knockouts. The flyweight division was still sort of growing. Henry Cejudo, on the other hand, is the complete opposite in that I started off hating this man. And this just seems like a running gag at this point. A wrestler who has absolutely zero personality and their fight style bores people to death. They adopt this sort of WWE persona, and then their career just takes off. Like, it happened with Chael, Colby, DC got a little bit more vocal, but mainly Henry Cejudo adopting Triple C and just transforming into the most insufferable fucking cringe persona was actually a genius move. It got him a fan base and drove a lot of us crazy. But looking back now, I actually really appreciate Henry doing that because it got us more invested in the flyweight division. He was the one to defeat EPO Scourge, TJ Dillashaw. I wasn't the biggest fan of Henry Cejudo at a time. He was very cringe, of course, but now that we've seen the flyweight division blossom, I have a newfound respect for Henry Cejudo for saving the division, saving the weight class, because you never know. TJ Dillashaw could have come in and got that victory and then bounced back up to the 135-pound division. They could have shut flyweight down. On the Mount Rushmore of flyweight, DJ, Henry Cejudo, Deiveson Figueiredo, and there's one more spot on that Mount Rushmore of flyweight. Will it be Alexandre Pantoja, guys, who is actually stacking a really impressive flyweight resume? Or will Joshua Van, in this very short post-Apex era of the UFC, actually come in and become a flyweight superstar? Is it an easy fight? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Flyweights are all fast, they all have durability, they don't quit. That's why you can never go wrong with a 5-rounder flyweight main event. They go, they don't gas out, they aren't heavyweights out there. Almost all of them are exciting finishes or brawls, except if you're Muhammad Mokaev, Manel Kape, that was atrocious. But still, how can you just not be a fan of Josh Van? You have to respect and appreciate his activity, his fight style, everything. The fact that he knows youth is on his side, and he's absolutely going to come in against Pantoja and look to be the bull in this fight, push forward, use that youth, and just bring a fight to Pantoja. We'll see if he can hang. We'll see if he can out-crafty Van. Said this in the previous video. I suggest Pantoja runs a grappling clinic, a wrestling clinic, because, look, Joshua Van just doesn't get tired. He doesn't get tired. How can he throw upwards of like 200, 300 punches and not gas out? You're going to need to wrestle him. But even then, he's a super physical guy. All Van does is grind. All he does is grind in training, in the gym, always in shape. He's motivated. Joshua Van is young, but before you think he's just going to follow in the footsteps of a young John Jones, roid up, hit the drink, crash a bunch of cars, threaten to kill people, and ruin UFC events, he won't. He is a humble Giga Chad. He's already bought his mom a house in Texas. This dude is amazing. He's great. How can you not be a fan? He's definitely rookie of the year. I guess you could say prospect of the year. Still young in the game. Knows youth is on his side. I cannot wait for this fight. I have Josh Van getting the victory either by TKO or dominant decision, damage-based decision win for Joshua Van. Just don't think Pantoja can hang anymore at this stage. We've seen the fights getting closer and closer. You can't deny that at all. I can't see you bloodied and beaten by Steve Urseg with elbows. Yes, you did outcrafty him. I just can't see that and then go against a Joshua Van pick who, yes, was KO'd by Charles Johnson. But Charles Johnson has the build of like a featherweight, man. Charles Johnson's huge. Van is arguably the smallest flyweight, so yeah, tricky KO loss where, Van got banged out, learned that lesson. Charles Johnson's no joke, absolutely no joke. We've broken him down on the channel because he deserves it. His fight style is elite. Look what he did to Loner Kavanaugh, so it's not just Van. Charles Johnson just has a knack for dusting up a prospect, showing them levels. Who knows? Charles Johnson, you just never know. Maybe he can dust up Pantoja. Rankings are weird, honestly. And that Charles Johnson KO loss was when they were both unranked. Van has since grinded his way back up. And so is Charles Johnson. I really don't understand why Charles Johnson is as low ranked as he is. Just because he lost to drug cheat Ramazan Temirov. It makes absolutely no fucking sense. Joseph Morales, the 6'7" guy who just got here, got a layup opponent in Matt Schnell, is already being given ranked 15, and Charles is only 13. You know how long Charles Johnson's been in the UFC grinding it out? And they let Joseph Morales just creep in behind him off of one layup win. It's so disrespectful. I genuinely think the UFC hates Charles Johnson for some reason. Makes absolutely no fucking sense to me. Charles Johnson is elite. So yes, Van does have a finished loss on his record, but it's against a really respectable opponent. Pantoja never knocked out, but look, Pantoja dropped plenty, always leaves the fights with cuts, bloody nose, etc. So if you don't think Van can go in there and have real success with the striking, you've got another thing coming. It's going to be competitive and fun. I think both guys, with their styles, have methods to finish each other. So obviously, us young guns are Team Van all day. I can respect Pantoja, but come on, man. Joshua Van, I'm here for the aura. I'm here for the story. Amazing boxer with insane Myanmar mountain cardio. He never fatigues. Throws hundreds of punches every fight, and if he can pull this off, he'll be the second youngest champion of all time, behind the natural, kind-hearted, law-abiding Christian John Jones. This is the stuff of legends here, folks. This is going to be insane if he can pull this off. I'm serious, he will become a star. I'm very, very excited for this fight, and December 6th is not that far away. And it'll be close. Pantoja has the durability, endurance, BJJ, and wrestling to get a win over anyone, honestly, but I just can't help but bring up how he just looks blindfolded when he strikes, like shades of Juliana Pena Tard charging into range. So, time for keys to victory. Next flyweight champion on the line here, December 6th. I think Van wins it. I have my reasons as to why, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But before we do that, drop your take down below, and let's debate in the comments who you think's going to get this one done. First, how Pantoja wins. Trips and sweeps. Joshua Van has defended basic wrestling takedowns, so I think Pantoja will need to get extra crafty here and go for trips and sweeps to really confuse Van, offset that boxer balance. That will do him wonders here. Do not fear Van on the feet. Actually, do what you do best, brawl, crash into him, but when you crash into him, go for intelligent collar ties, go for disruption, trips, into dominant grappling positions. That is how Pantoja should start this fight off. And second, hunt the sub. Absolutely hunt the sub. Get on top of Van or on his back and burn the clock that way. Burn the clock with pepper from these dominant positions like the backpack. That'll win you rounds. That'll keep you safe from Van's just complete downhill boxing offense that you can't hang with, Pantoja. Moreno pieced you the fuck up. Steve Urseg was a bit too big for you and gave you serious problems in the striking. I think Van will be sort of a middle ground where he finds a lot of success with his pot shotting and causes damage as the fight goes on. So yeah, take him down, hunt the sub. And if you can't find the sub, at least you're burning the clock in a dominant position. I think you need to do that to win. And yeah, hunt the rear naked choke on Van. Make him defend sub attempts. Absolutely make him defend sub attempts. We haven't seen Van in compromising positions like that yet. That's where you need to take this one if you're going to win. And lastly, end it early. Absolutely end it early when you still have the gas in the tank to move on. I think Joshua Van has the better cardio in this matchup. Pantoja is just a wild man, and he can keep that wild man cardio for a long time, but I still think the best path to victory, a good key to victory for Pantoja, is to end it early. You have the grappling skill, the BJJ skill. Yeah, look to end it early because you do not want to be in rounds 4 and 5, having taken damage from Van, failed your submission attempts, your wrestling, maybe that's not going well in rounds 4 and 5, you are going to get destroyed with volume from Joshua Van to the body, to the head, kicks, elbows, dirty boxing, you name it. I think this is a good game plan for a high-volume boxer. You know, Joshua Van is still green in the career. You need to show him new looks. You need to show the next level, or else Van's just going to figure you out, pick you apart, destroy you, punish your gas tank. So it's on Pantoja to be higher fight IQ in this matchup, and this is how I think he does it. How Joshua Van wins. Now, how I think Joshua Van wins. His keys to victory are, firstly, sprawl and brawl. If Joshua Van can go out there and manifest like Bilal Muhammad level takedown defense, you know, Brad Tavares level takedown defense, and keep up his boxing game, you know, like don't chase too much, just pepper, pepper, pepper. It's going to go well for him. It really is. He is going to land at will. Van is very accurate as well. He can hit moving targets. He was landing on Charles Johnson. It was a tough fight for him, but he was still doing it. He lands a lot of punches on everybody he fights. Combinations, body, head, everything. Van's volume sort of seems to ramp up as the fight goes on, so he needs a strong start here. And I think that starts with sprawling and brawling against a Pantoja who needs grappling to stay safe. Like, he will be able to brawl into Van and maybe even hurt Van in a few moments and like surprise Van. Second is don't chase. You know, we've seen a few guys really just back up and disengage from Van and just skirt the cage. Like Ray Saruya, I mean, looked awful. Van did destroy him, but found little pockets in the fight where you can just move laterally and it's very hard for Van to hit you. I don't think Pantoja can emulate that though. He is sort of a plodster. I see him getting hit a lot in this fight, 100 plus significant strikes for sure. But former opponents of Van have been able to really skirt laterally, like Ray Saruya, Charles Johnson, even Felipe Bunez moved laterally on Van, and it is harder for him to land. Van throws incredible straight shots. He's not like known for his devastating hooks, like a well maker, where if you don't cut that angle right, you're going down. Van is just sort of like a giant snowball effect. Just, it starts with little pot shoddy volume, but really starts to take a toll on you as the fight goes on because he will build a cardio edge. So if you're Van, don't chase. Absolutely don't chase. Let Pantoja come to you with the tard charges. You can find your counters. Do not fall out of position being over-eager, trying to land on Pantoja, because it will open up. He has atrocious strike defense. You will win in the boxing. Let him come to you. Play a bit of the Matador in this one, Van, all right? And lastly, attack the body. I would love to see Van do what he did against Kevin Borjas and Edgar Chairez, where maybe he doesn't have a good first round. Maybe he actually can't land his combinations on the chin of Pantoja. So what do? You lower your level and just rip body shots. Absolutely rip body shots. Pantoja's not known for his knees up the middle and devastating uppercuts. Not a chance. Pantoja is a brawler, a plodster, a slopster, Slimer out there. I know that Van will have a speed edge in this fight when it comes to punches, so absolutely go work your combinations all over the chest and guts of Pantoja. Rip him apart. I think that's really the key to victory here, is not headhunting on a guy like Pantoja. I think the body is the key to victory here for Van because his combinations are so clean, so relentless. We can really build up a big total of strikes. Pantoja sort of slows down after a big grapple fuckfest, but I think in any case, I really trust in Van's cardio. That high elevation, genetics he's got, his work rate, his dedication to the game, his grind. I like Van, even at his young age of 24, 25, whatever it is. This just seems like one of those fights where the physicality and the drive of the young gun is going to actually be able to defeat the crafty vet. And normally the crafty vet usually squeaks the decision, like we've seen it with other champs in the past. But I simply just trust our king, Joshua Van, to force a stand-up fight. That's how I see this one going. That is the keys to victory. Take it or leave it. But what do you guys think? Drop your takes down below. I want to debate this fight thoroughly. This is a division I really care about. Joshua Van, definitely one of my newest favorite fighters on the rise. Came out of nowhere, completely caught my attention with that fight style. How can you not be a fan? And Pantoja, just a slept-on champion. Completely slept-on, crafty unk that nobody talks about. Also holding it down in Brazil, so I am emotionally invested in this December 6th card, okay? It also has Cejudo, Talbot. You guys know that's getting a thorough breakdown as well. And of course, Merab Dvalishvili, Petr Yan rematching. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Drop your takes down below, and I will see you real soon.